There's a lot of different neighborhoods in PV, and you really want to make sure you're choosing the one that's right for you when you're relocating, when you're investing, and even when you're just visiting. So I'm going to take you to a random neighborhood in Puerto Vallarta, and to decide which neighborhood that is, I'm going to spin this wheel. I actually already put in all the neighborhoods in Puerto Vallarta, and there's quite a few of them, really from the north all the way down to the south. The one I did take out was Bocas de Tomatlan because it is really quite remote. So anyway, let's spin. I don't know why I'm so nervous about this. I don't know what neighborhood we're gonna get. Whichever one it is, we're gonna go there. And I guess I'll pull the trigger. My heart is like racing for no reason. Bucerias. Okay, I thought we were gonna get a really random weird one. Bucerias is great. I love Bucerias. And I'd be really excited to talk about Bucerias and all the different dynamics of Bucerias. It's actually huge. And there's a lot going on there when it comes to what the lifestyle is and the real estate. So stick around, because today we're gonna explore Bucerias in Riviera Nayarit, Mexico. Hi, I'm Dyani Leal, real estate broker and investment consultant based in Puerto Vallarta and Banderas Bay area of Mexico. I'm also a member of eXp Realty, which is the biggest brokerage in the United States and quickly growing internationally with a huge network of realtors all over the world and a very strong one all over Mexico. So if you're interested in buying, selling, or investing in property anywhere, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. I'm also the founder of Dyani Investment Realty, turning your dreams into reality. Really quickly before we get started, please make sure to subscribe if you like the content for more videos about business, lifestyle, and real estate in Mexico. Also, I'm working on a pretty fun quiz that determines what your neighborhood is in Puerto Vallarta. So make sure to look out for that. As soon as it's ready, I'll plug it into the description below, along with all of my resources and contact information. All right, so let's get to it. Bucerias. All right, so we're going to start with my good old friend, Google Earth. The reason for this is because it becomes a little bit difficult when you're zoomed in to explain to clients where each neighborhood is. And I know a lot of you back home that are watching this, that are considering moving potentially to Puerto Vallarta and really want to understand the different neighborhoods, of course, are probably used to looking at Google Earth and have looked at the map and are more or less familiar with it. But I think pairing it with the description of what each neighborhood is really important. I love to have that bird's eye view and see how everything is connected. And that's kind of where you can also see where those emerging regions are and where might be good investment locations. And anyway, I do love maps, so here we go. All right, Bucerias. So I think the little description here is cute. Bucerias, meaning Divers Town, is a small Mexican beach resort town in the state of Nayarit on a stretch of Pacific coast known as Riviera Nayarit, on and in the bay and municipality of Banderas. So the main city in Nayarit, where you're going to be looking, that's connected to Puerto Vallarta, is Banderas Bay. That's the name of the municipality, and the one in Jalisco is Puerto Vallarta. And it's between La Cruz and Nuevo Nayarit. By the way, my kids are home from school for summer break, so you might hear them in the background right now. I have the mic, so hopefully you can hear me. All right, so here we have La Cruz de Guanacaste on the north side. You can see it's northwest. And then we have Bucerias, and then really far down south, not really far, not far at all, we have Nuevo Vallarta. So this is this little cove that we're looking at here. Now, I just want to show a couple important markers. Right up here, we have Punta Mita. If you go all the way up, you have Sayulita, which is a surfer's town. Punta Mita is a big luxury resort community with definitely the highest value property in the area. And then as you go down, you have La Cruz de Guanacaste, which is an emerging luxury community in some areas, and then in others, it's still quite local and residential. Now, Flamingo's area is right here. And this is a really important area that you might want to be aware of when we're looking at the map and everything. Flamingos is interesting because some people think it's Bucerias and some people think it's Nuevo Vallarta. or Nuevo Nayarit. Technically, it is neither. It is Flamingos. It's its own area. And it's a big golf course community. And right here, you can see this stretch. This is the 200. This is the highway that runs from the south to the north, going all the way along the coast. All right, so you can see that this is the 200. It goes all the way across down through the airport and down all the way down to Mismaloya. Everything along the coast is what you're going to want to be aware of, what you probably already are aware of. All right, so we're going to zoom up. Now we're going to zoom in a little bit more to Bucerias. Now, this is one really interesting thing about Bucerias that fascinates me that's pretty important to know is you see the highway right here. Let's zoom in a little where I'm pointing with the mouse. This is the river, and there is a pedestrian footbridge that cuts across here. So on one side, you have Bucerias Centro, and then on the other side, you have Zona Dorada. Okay, that's golden zone Bucerias. These are totally divided. So you can't access one from the other except on foot. You can't drive from one to another. And because you can't really drive from one to another, you can imagine that they're two pretty different dynamics. And then just as an overall view before we zoom into each one, we have Zona Dorada, Golden Zone. We have Bucerias Centro. And then look at how huge this is, okay, on the other side of the highway. All of this is Bucerias. So this is what's called East Bucerias. So we have East Bucerias, Centro Bucerias, and Golden Zone. So let's go ahead and first check out the big one, which is Golden Zone. Now I want to really be a little bit clear on the different parts of Bucerias here because you have the main landmark it's known as locally is the Chedraui. The Chedraui technically marks the very south side of Bucerias on the highway. So we're looking at here to here. Just south of Chedraui, you have the Grand de Cameron. And this is a big resort. It's very old school Bucerias. It's been around for quite a while and it is really very nice. It got dark. I'm drinking wine and I have no idea what I'm doing. This is totally an experiment. I just want to give you a tour as if I would with clients and I want it to be educational and helpful. And my goal is that by the end of this video, you'll really know Bucerias, but it might be really boring. I don't know, but do let me know in the comments if this is helpful or how I could maybe, I don't know, make it more interesting or if you were following and you really appreciate it. I think a lot of people are looking at maps on their own, just kind of trying to figure things out, you know, and it seems like a weird request to like ask someone to sit down and go for the map with you, but I'm happy to do it. So anyway, let's get back to it. This is the Grande Cameron. So one thing that's really cool about the Grande Cameron is that right behind it, there is a footpath that will take you to Flamingos. I've actually taken it before. I took it right to the resort Via del Pomar in Flamingos, which is along the beach that actually leads straight to Nuevo Vallarta. So you can get there by foot. If you want to go there in a car, you go through Flamingos on the highway through the Flamingos entrance and, you can get to that beach area. You have to go out on the highway to get to Bucerias. So I think that's one thing that makes Bucerias special is that it's in this little removed place and it's direct beach access. And there's a lot of ways that it's not totally accessible directly for people and you have to get on the highway and then go in. So there isn't a lot of through traffic or anything like that. So let's see if we can take, okay, it's called Flamingos Greenway Path. Let's see if we can get on it. All right. Love this. Okay. So how cute is this? You just walk down it and it just takes you all the way there. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you it's a bike path, it's a walking path, no cars or anything like that. And you can take that straight to Flamingos if you want. So we are going into Zona Dorada. That's what we're exploring right now. I want to show you here, we have the beach. Now this street right here is the street called Lázaro Cárdenas. And this street will take you all the way across Zona Dorada. This is one of the most popular and highly coveted streets when it comes to purchasing property and the property values. It's actually really interesting that on the beach side of Lázaro Cárdenas, the property values are much, much higher than probably like almost disproportionately higher than the properties on the other side because it's just across the street, right? But that's the style of Bucerias. It's very small and some locations are just really desirable. And there's just this one beach strip. So there is also no boardwalk, right? So we're just like looking at Lázaro Cárdenas here. So you're walking by, you can pass through. There's always a bunch of construction. This is El Cal. That's a thing being built. Pavilion is on your left there. This is kind of where you're heading into the main area of Zona Dorada. And you just keep going. But one thing is that the beach area, it's right down here. So I don't know if you can see it from here. We might need to go to a corner. But basically, Lázaro Cárdenas is the closest street to it, but you can't actually see the beach, as you can see, right? And if you want to walk on the beach in Bucerias, you have to walk on the beach, like in the sand and everything. Get your feet dirty, literally. All right, so here we are. We're coming up on the corner, and I can show you here. So there's a Dolce Vida. That's a great little restaurant. And then right here, you can see that's the beach. So there's all throughout Bucerias. You go along Lázaro Cárdenas on that street, there's a ton of beach entrances here. So right here it says Acceso a Playa. So you can just go on there. See, there's people hanging out, sleeping. I love this because it really does feel like you're there. Although I guess they're not going to let us into the actual beach, which is fine. There's other ways to get to the beach that aren't on this exact route. But yeah, so anyway, you get the idea, right? So now I'm going to show you some main locations that you might want to keep in mind. So La Postal is a restaurant right on Lázaro Cárdenas. This is one of my favorites. It's pretty classic, old school. It's been around for a while. And we're just going to head down here and take a look. All right, so there's a bunch of restaurants around here. As you get here, you see we're getting a little bit closer to the bridge that's going to take you into El Centro, the footbridge. And as you may remember, El Centro is a totally different vibe. I don't know if I went over this, but it's a totally different vibe than Zona Dorada. Zona Dorada is the more prime location. Think of it as Zona Romantica and El Centro. Think of it as like compared to downtown PV, it's like El Centro. It's, downtown and, more commercial area with buses and a public park and bands and activities and lots of noise and markets and things like that and hustle and bustle. Right. And Zona Dorada is much more of a laid back feel. And the property values do reflect that. They're significantly more expensive to live in Zona Dorada because it's a more upscale area of town. So this is La Postal. This is one of my favorite little places. And they have an amazing, amazing ice cream, great Italian food. It's just very chill, kind of like beach place, and at night they have music and stuff like that. And here's another beach entrance. So everything on Lázaro Cárdenas, you can see the kind of distance we are going towards the beach there. All right, so another place that you should definitely be aware of. No, I'm just trying to get to the beach here. I feel like they're going to let us onto the beach. Let's see. All right, I think we made it. Yeah, we're here. We're on the beach, kind of. All right. Yeah, we are on the beach. Okay. I don't know where we are anymore. But you can see these are a little bit older, dated condos right here. And we're just going to head back. All right, I'm getting out of here. All right, so where we're going to go also is to the famous Karen's place. And this is another place. So La Postal is a nice kind of like night place, just chill, family friendly, all that fun stuff. And then right here in Karen's place, we have one of the most popular places. All right, so right here, this is, these condos are at a pretty high price point. And they're beautiful oceanside condos. So anything that you have around this area is highly coveted and it goes pretty fast, not always available. And then you have Karen's Place right here. This is a little beach restaurant. When you go inside, you can put your toes in the sand and get a margarita. They have a huge selection of food. So it's definitely a place you're going to want to check out if you're there in Zona Dorada. As far as nightlife in Zona Dorada, probably the only place I could think of would be La Negra. And there isn't much of a nightlife. And this is a huge appeal about Zona Dorada, actually, is because that's the idea. A lot of people don't really want to live in a place where people are partying all night, right? You want to go to bed at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock and get some sleep. And that's partially why it's a more upscale area. And so they're pretty strict about those noise regulations and all of that. La Negra is a little bit more removed. So let's take a look at where we are. You can see this divide here to Bucerias Centro right here. La Negra is right here in pretty much the heart of Zona Dorada. It's 2 blocks up. There's some very nice condominiums there. It's a very trendy cocktail lounge and they have DJs and stuff occasionally. And sometimes they will stay open a little bit later. It's not wild or crazy or anything. So, that's how they kind of get away with being in that area of town. And it is very popular. So it's right here. This is what it looks like. And then there's a little rooftop lounge area and really delicious appetizers and kind of like American bar food, like hamburgers and pizzas and stuff like that. But they do it up, right? So it's gourmet level. Like I said, very chic, very trendy. All right, so those are pretty much, you get the idea. We've gone through most areas of Zona Dorada area. It's really just a bunch of restaurants and stuff like that. And now we're going to head over to El Centro. Let's see if we can get across the footbridge on Google Earth. All right. So this is it. You walk down Lázaro Cárdenas, that street we've been on that parallels the beach, and you just go straight to the end, right? You just keep walking, 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 and it'll bring you to this bridge. I see they won't let us through, maybe because there's no through traffic with cars that Google Earth can't make it through either. So anyway, I'll grab it from the other end of Bucerias Centro, but you get the idea. So this is where you come out. You walk through here. It's actually really special. And usually if I'm taking people on a tour, we'll do that walk. You walk through this market and there's, a bunch of hustle and bustle and, souvenirs and things you can buy. It's a pretty classic local artisan market. And you can walk through and just, check it out. And then you just emerge over here on this side. And this is Bucerias Centro. So Bucerias Centro is even smaller than Zona Dorada. Oh, here's like more of the market. Okay, there's another market in here so you can get an idea. There's just a lot of little markets and areas. Right, you can see what's going on here. So one thing to think about when you think about El Centro and the difference between El Centro and Zona Dorada is that it's very loud, actually. It's the opposite of chill and quiet and reserved or whatever. It is loud and noisy and active, and there's a lot to do. It's fun. It's exciting. It's got a vibrant nightlife, lots of culture. There is a lot of music and art and festivals and things going on. It's very fun, but it can be loud. I had some clients who came, they put a deposit on a condo right on the beach. I mean, it was a really amazing price, ocean view, just like seemed too good to be true. And in their eyes, it was, because when they got here, spent one night in El Centro and realized that the music was going on until 4 a.m. So that is very typical for the area, right? And so you have to be aware of the lifestyle of El Centro to know if it's right for you and if it's something that if it's your vibe or if you would prefer to be in the more quaint area. Most people say that living in Zona Dorada and then walking into El Centro to go out and do things is the way to go. All right, so here we have the church. Actually, I wonder if it's still there. They knocked that down. Okay, we're on the highway. Okay, I don't know where we are. Okay, so this will give you an idea of the entrance there. This is the highway, so you can see. I think that's my car, honestly. I was there when they took these Google Earth pictures. All right, this is the park. I don't know how we wound up on the highway there. But this is exactly, it's funny, whenever they did take these satellite pictures, there was a festival going on because it is poppin' in Bucerias Centro. All right. So this is the park. It is right. I don't know if they're good. I feel like they just keep taking us around, and we can't get there, but it's right here. Well, we're going by it. You get the idea. Is this even the park? Yeah, this is it. All right, so here we're at Bucerias. Like you can see, this is obviously a very tourist attraction. You know, it says Bucerias. You can get your picture taken here. I think there's a tourist there having their picture taken on the Google or a satellite photo. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. All right, so here you have the Oso. This is what you see when you first walk across the bridge after coming out of the market area. And all these little restaurants on the beach are very fun and pretty famous, and everybody goes there. And a lot of people that are locals have favorites, right? Oh, no, I go to that one. No, I only go to that one, right? And they're right next to each other and they're kind of the same. I'm from Philadelphia, so the only equivalent I can think of is Pat's and Gino's. They're these cheesesteak places that are directly across the street from each other, and people will just wage war over one or the other, even though they're obviously very similar and right across the street from each other. So that's what these beach restaurants are like. I don't live in Bucerias, but I have some friends that do, and that's something I noticed from my Bucerias friends. So Marisol is one. I don't know if we already passed Fat Boys, but that is one that is old Fat Boy, I guess it's called. All right, yeah, the Fat Boy. Mariscos Gordo. Okay, that one's pretty famous too. There's a really nice Italian place I've eaten at down here, a Brujo restaurant. All right, we're gonna go down further. La Palapa. All right, I think it's all the way at the end. Okay, so this actually just dead ends right here, and it can actually be a little creepy at night, honestly. I don't know if I would come down here at night by myself. Mezzo Giorno. This place is really good. Okay, it's fancy and nice, really delicious food, but like a little bit sketchy. All right, we're gonna go literally right up here. Just gonna jump here. So this, Jack's, is one of the party places, right? It is not that wild or anything. They have live music all night. A lot of Canadians go there. There is karaoke right next door, and right across the street from it is a salsa bar that has become even more popular than Jack's in recent years because people are like, I'd like a little bit more of the Mexican nightlife experience, right? And you can tell the people who go there frequently and want to dance salsa and don't necessarily want it to be a tourist location are feeling a little iffy about that. But everybody's really friendly and it's fine. But yeah, Republica. So yeah, it's a very lively area. All right, and before we get out of there, you get the idea. That's a centro. It's really small. It's literally, that is what it is. We saw Zona Dorada. You get the idea of what that is. And now the whole East Bucerias area is pretty amazing for a lot of different reasons. So it's very rural. And this is a place where this is our dream someday to have like acres in East Bucerias because that's where you can get them. And it is where there's sprawling land and horses, and it's just very tranquil. It's a totally different lifestyle. And so there's a couple schools out there, and I'm going to take you. So one is the Waldorf. Now, this is all I know because it's very residential. There's really not a lot of attractions or places where you're going to go. But the Waldorf is somewhere that people will drive there regularly to go to take their kids to school, right? And so this is what they're driving down these rural roads and just in the middle of nowhere, and you're just driving for like 20 minutes, 15 minutes. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it looks like it's huge and you're so far away. You're like 10, 15 minutes from downtown Bucerias, right? And it's not that far. So you have the Waldorf Bahía. You have, now I think Colegio Bucerias is another school out here. And actually, if you're somebody who has kids in the Bucerias area, the schools are only out in the countryside. There really aren't a lot of good options in town, right? So if you want your kids to go to a private school, then you're going to be out on the East Bucerias side, right? So you're going to be commuting. And so you might as well get your acres, right? This isn't that far out. Colegio Bucerias, you can see we're like very close to the highway here. So one other thing that I'll show you before we wrap up. So right here is also something to be aware of. So this is the Comer Mega Soriana. You can see Buceria Centro, East Bucerias. Right here is where there are a bunch of grocery stores. It's probably going to be the main location for that. There's also a residential community called Flamingos. Now, technically, you see Flamingos is really this beach resort area here, but it's also this golf course. It extends to the side of the highway. And then also this area is technically Flamingos, which is confusing because it's really not the same vibe as the beachside one. But it's all Flamingos, it's all the same area. So just taking a look at that and getting an idea of what's in the surrounding area. Tondoroque is a very emerging area that is residential community that's kind of off the beaten path, but they're starting to develop on it. So it's a place where you can look if you're looking for an opportunity to invest at a low price point for something that is likely to appreciate in the coming years. And they are even developing between Tondoroque and this Altavela Fraccionamiento, this whole area in here. You can actually commute between these. So that all leads here. And then you're here in Bucerias. So Bucerias is much more at this end of things. I live in Nuevo Nayarit, and that is more in the middle, like closer to Puerto Vallarta. And then I used to live in Mezcales area, which is right here. But anyway, that's it. That's it for Bucerias for today. So hopefully that's helpful. Please let me know in the comments what you think about this map tour of Bucerias and the whole concept. I'm planning on doing these weekly, so if you like them, let me know. And if you hated it, also let me know. But maybe you wouldn't still be here at the end of the video if you did. But do let me know what you think and if there's a specific community that you'd like to see or anything like that. If you want to see what the exact price points, I did not mention those. They're constantly fluctuating. It really depends on exactly what you're looking for. That's a whole other video, honestly. But if you want to know price points of properties, please feel free to shoot me a message and I will let you know those as well. And of course, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. Until next time. Bye.